Now, day 3 of David's, spelled d4vd, preliminary hearing has officially wrapped up, and prosecutors just revealed that pieces missing from the damaged inflatable pool were found on 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez clothing. An LAPD trace analyst testified that numerous blue fragments were recovered from Celeste Rivas Hernandez leggings, while several fragments submitted by the medical examiner's office reportedly fit missing sections of the pool like puzzle pieces. Prosecutors also presented phone and Tesla data tracing movement toward Santa Barbara County. More specifically, prosecutors say the phone and Tesla traveled toward the state Route 154 region near where Celeste Rivas Hernandez's passport card was later recovered, while the defense questioned why certain evidence was never collected or tested. So in this video, we're breaking down the new pool evidence, the digital timeline, and what David's attorneys are now challenging. Drop a like on this video if you guys appreciate these updates. Let's get into it. Now, day 3 also gave us the clearest look so far at what David's defense is actually going to argue. So his attorney Blair Burke spent much of day 3 questioning why investigators didn't perform additional DNA testing on some of the evidence recovered from the house. One of the main things she focused on was the 2 small chainsaws found inside the garage, where prosecutors believe Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body was dismembered. And remember, prosecutors are not simply saying those chainsaws looked suspicious. In their court filing, they specifically alleged that David used a chainsaw and possibly other tools to dismember Celeste's body inside the inflatable pool. A third electric handheld saw was also found inside a closet elsewhere in the house, but according to LAPD criminalist Lauren Wallace, investigators determined that it had no forensic value, so it was not collected or subjected to any additional analysis. Lauren Wallace also testified that the 2 saws recovered from the garage were tested for blood, but the results came back negative, and because no blood was found, investigators never swabbed the handles for touch DNA to see who may have handled them. Blair Burke, David's attorney, basically argued that just because you can't visibly see someone else's DNA on an item, that doesn't mean it isn't there. And LAPD criminalist Lauren Wallace agreed that touch DNA cannot be seen, but again pointed out that the blades had already tested negative for blood. The prosecution then argued that testing for David's DNA inside his own home wouldn't really prove much because naturally his DNA would probably be everywhere. But David's attorney Blair Burke immediately pushed back and asked Lauren Wallace if investigators were aware that multiple people were living inside the house. Lauren Wallace said yes. So basically, the defense appears to be arguing that investigators may have left certain questions unanswered by choosing not to test the saw handles. They're not saying that someone else's DNA was definitely there. They're saying investigators never even checked. The defense also questioned some of the other decisions investigators made while searching the house. According to Los Angeles Magazine's courtroom reporting, Blair Burke asked Lauren Wallace about a large box containing a burn cage that had reportedly been located on the 2nd floor. Lauren Wallace said she did not document or personally observe it because she had never been instructed to search that part of the house. And at this point, you're probably wondering, why wouldn't investigators test or collect some of this evidence in the first place? Well, prosecutor Beth Silverman responded by emphasizing that investigators do not automatically collect or test every item found at the scene. Instead, they focus on the evidence they believe is most likely to produce useful forensic results. Lauren Wallace had already testified that investigators found several areas inside the garage where blood appeared to have been cleaned up. But on day 3, she also revealed that investigators found jugs and trays containing what appeared to be fake blood. Presumptive testing came back negative, meaning the preliminary chemical screening did not indicate the presence of blood. The material was documented but not collected as evidence. Blair Burke, David's attorney, suggested that the fake blood may have been used for David's music videos, since a lot of his visuals include dark and violent imagery. For the defense, the point is simple. If that material was being used as a prop, then the fact that fake blood was found in the garage would not necessarily connect it to Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death. But that still doesn't explain the separate areas where investigators said real blood appeared to have been present or cleaned up. Now, after LAPD criminalist Lauren Wallace finished testifying, prosecutors moved into what may have been the biggest piece of new physical evidence revealed on day 3. LAPD trace analyst Lisa Leandro, a 26-year-old veteran of the department, testified about the damaged blue inflatable pool investigators recovered from the garage. According to Lisa Leandro, she documented 4 separate areas of damage to the pool. The damage included both straight and irregular cuts that appeared to have been made with some type of sharp object or tool, with some of the cuts going completely through the pool material. But this is where the evidence became much more serious. Lisa Leandro testified that several blue plastic fragments submitted by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's office physically fit missing sections of the pool like puzzle pieces. In other words, some of those fragments reportedly lined up directly with pieces missing from the pool itself. She also examined several additional blue fragments that shared the same characteristics as the pool material and could have originated from it. However, because parts of those smaller fragments were missing, she could not definitely describe all of them as exact physical matches. Many of the blue fragments were recovered from the clothing found with Celeste Rivas Hernandez's remains, including numerous pieces of her black leggings. The clothing itself was reportedly in extremely poor condition. Lisa Leandro testified that the garments were wet, heavily soiled, and covered in dirt and insects. The black leggings also appeared to have been cut in half. And that deterioration mattered because Lisa Leandro said it prevented her from completing some of the comparison testing she had originally been asked to perform. Lisa Leandro also examined a separate black fragment that she compared to the leggings. She collected hairs, fibers, other trace particles, and 2 yellowish stains from that fragment using sterile swabs. During cross-examination, David's attorney Blair Burke also emphasized that Lisa Leandro's comparisons were based on the fragment's physical characteristics and were not exhaustive. So although several pieces physically fit the damaged pool, the defense questioned how conclusive the broader fragment comparison really was. According to Los Angeles Magazine's courtroom report, Lisa Leandro also observed what appeared to be possible footwear impressions on the pool. She then tried to recover the possible shoe prints using a specialized forensic tool, but it didn't work. Lisa Leandro explained that the pool's uneven and thick surface, or the possibility that the impressions were not actually made in dust, could have prevented the tool from recovering them. She also confirmed that investigators never gave her any shoes to compare against those possible impressions. Now, to be clear, Lisa Leandro did not testify that investigators had conclusively identified which exact tool created the cuts in the pool. She also did not say that any of the chainsaws recovered from the house had been proven to have been used on it. But prosecutors have now presented physical evidence that they say connects Celeste Rivas Hernandez's clothing to an item found inside the garage where they believe her body was dismembered. Once Lisa Leandro finished testifying, prosecutors shifted from the physical evidence to David's digital movements. LAPD detective William Rocker, who specializes in cell phone record analysis, testified about historical records connected to David's phone and a separate identifier linked to the Tesla. Rocker is a 9-year veteran of the LAPD Robbery Homicide Division. According to William Rocker, the phone and Tesla appear to travel together from the Hollywood Hills residence toward a remote section of Santa Barbara County during the night of April 23rd and early morning of April 24, 2025. That is the same night prosecutors allege Celeste Rivas Hernandez was killed at the Hollywood Hills residence. The records show that 2 devices traveling north toward the State Route 154 area near the broader region where Celeste Rivas Hernandez's passport card was later recovered. And while the vehicle was traveling north, William Rocker testified that an outgoing call was placed from David's phone to Celeste Rivas Hernandez's number. That call reportedly went directly to voicemail. William Rocker said that could mean her phone was turned off, placed in airplane mode, or outside network coverage. There was no testimony that David and Celeste Rivas Hernandez actually spoke during that call. But this is where the Tesla data became even more specific. Records show that the Tesla stopped at an electric vehicle charging station in Santa Ynez and was charged there around the same time. That charging record helped place the vehicle in the area during the trip. And this was not the only trip prosecutors highlighted. William Rocker testified that the phone and Tesla returned to the same general Santa Barbara County area 2 more times during May before traveling back toward Los Angeles. Now, he said that the cell phone records consistently supported the Tesla data, with both devices appearing to move together during the relevant periods. Now, the records do not tell us exactly what happened during any of those trips. They also do not automatically prove that David was personally driving the Tesla at every single moment, but prosecutors are clearly using the phone and Tesla data to argue that these movements were not random. In many ways, the route helps tell the story prosecutors are trying to build. The phone and the Tesla left Hollywood Hills, traveled towards Santa Barbara County, and moved through the broader State Route 154 region near where Celeste Rivas Hernandez's passport card was later recovered. The records then showed 2 additional trips toward the same general region in May. And this is where the digital timeline begins connecting back to the prosecution's broader theory of the case. In a court filing, prosecutors alleged that Celeste Rivas Hernandez had threatened to expose her relationship with David and damage his career shortly before she was killed. They claimed that David then sent an Uber to pick her up on April 23, 2025 and bring her to the Hollywood Hills residence he was staying at. And according to prosecutors, Celeste Rivas Hernandez was stabbed after arriving at the house. They also alleged that her body remained inside the Tesla's front trunk for weeks or possibly months before the vehicle was eventually abandoned and towed in September. So the cell phone and Tesla records do not stand alone. Prosecutors are using them to connect the night they believe Celeste Rivas Hernandez was killed to the movements of the vehicle where her remains were later discovered. So by the end of day 3, the hearing had revealed 3 major parts of the battle between the prosecution and the defense. The defense challenged what investigators chose not to collect or test. Prosecutors presented physical evidence they say connected Celeste Rivas Hernandez's clothing to the damaged pool inside the garage, and they introduced a digital trail showing David's phone and Tesla repeatedly traveling toward the same Santa Barbara County region where her passport card was later recovered. Now, none of that means the judge has already decided that David is guilty. This is still a preliminary hearing, and the question at this stage is whether prosecutors have shown enough evidence for the case to move forward toward trial. But day 3 gave us the clearest picture so far of both sides. Prosecutors are trying to build one connected timeline using the house, the pool, the clothing, and the Tesla. The defense is trying to show that investigators left certain forensic questions unanswered. When you zoom out and look at everything presented on day 3, prosecutors appear to be trying to turn several separate pieces of evidence into one connected story. But out of everything revealed on day 3, the pool evidence may be the most significant. Prosecutors say several fragments submitted by the medical examiner's office physically fit missing sections of the damaged pool inside the garage, while numerous additional blue fragments were recovered from Celeste Rivas Hernandez's leggings. In other words, they are arguing that pieces of that pool were found on the clothing recovered with her remains. That still does not prove exactly what happened inside the garage, but if that evidence holds up, it gives prosecutors a direct physical connection between Celeste Rivas Hernandez and the location where they allege her body was dismembered. The hearing is still continuing, so I'll keep you guys updated as everything develops. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new here, and let me know what stood out to you the most from day 3. I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace, I'm out.